The man I was talking about, his full name was Pandit Shambhratan Dubey. We are used to call him Shambhu Babu. He was not an elected vice president, because to be elected, you have to at least stand for election. He was nominated by the president, who was just a holy cow dung, as I have said before. In India, to be a holy cow dung is a great thing. You become a Mahatma. The president was almost a Mahatma, and as bogus as they all are, otherwise they would not be Mahatmas in the first place. Shambhu Baba was a peculiar person. There was nothing in common between us. He was the vice president of the whole village, the president of the Lawyers Association, the president of the Lottery Club, and so on and so forth. He was either the president or the vice president of many committees. He was everywhere. He was a poet, but never published his poetry while he was still alive. He was a great story writer too, and by chance a famous film director became acquainted with him and his stories. Now Shambhu Babu is dead, but a great film has been made using one of his stories. Jhansi Ki Rani, the Queen of Jhansi. It won many awards, both national and international. He is no more. He was my only friend in that place. Once it was decided that I would live there. It was planned for only 7 years, but I actually lived there 11 years. Perhaps they said only 7 years to persuade me to stay. Perhaps it was their intention from the beginning. In India, in those days, the educational structure began with 4 years of primary education. Then 3 years more if you wanted to continue in the same direction. That is 7 years, and then you would get a certificate. Perhaps that was their intention and they were not lying to me, but there was another way too, and that is what actually happened. After 4 years, you could either continue in the same line or change. You could go to the middle school. If you continue in the same line, you never learn the English. Primary education ended after 7 years, and you are fully educated in only the local language. And in India, there are 30 recognized language. But after the 4th year, there was an opening and you could change gear. You could go to the English school, you could join the middle school, as it was called. Again, it was a 4-year course, and if you continued in that line, then after another 3 years, later you become a matriculate. My God, what a wastage of life. All those beautiful days wasted so mercilessly. And by the time you were a matriculate, you were then capable of going to university. Again, it was a 6-year course. In all, I had to waste 4 years in primary school, 4 years in middle school, 3 years in high school, and 6 years in university. 17 years. It is total nonsense. 17 years. And I was 8 or 9 when I started this whole nonsense. So the day I left the university, I was 26. And so happy, not because I was gold medalist, but because I was free at last. I was in such a hurry that I told my professor, "Don't waste my time. Nobody can convince me to enter these gates again. Even when I was 9 years old, my father had to drag me in, but now nobody can drag me. If anyone tries, then I will drag him out. And of course I was able to drag the poor old man who was trying to persuade me not to leave. He said, "Listen to me, it is rare to receive a scholarship for a PhD. Do your PhD, and I promise you that you will one day be able to have a D.Lit." I said, "Don't waste my time because my bus is leaving." The bus was standing there at the gate. I had to rush to catch it, and I am sorry that I could not even thank him. I had no time. The bus was leaving. Shambhu Babu was well educated. I was uneducated. When the friendship was begun, he had a glorious past. I had none. The whole town was shocked by our friendship, but he was not even embarrassed. I respect that quality. We used to walk hand in hand. He was my father's age, and his children were older than me. He died 10 years before my father. I think he must have been about 50 at the time. This would have been the right time for us to be friends. But he was the only man to recognize me. Kantar master was never seen at the school again. He was immediately sent on leave because there was only 1 month before his retirement, and his application for an extension had been cancelled. This created a great celebration in the village. I am surprised how he continued torturing small children his whole life. I said, "There is no question of respect. And as far as my friendship with Shambhu Babu is concerned, it is not a matter of age. He is my father's friend, really. Even my father is amazed." My father asked Shambhu Baba, "Why are you so friendly to that troublesome boy?" Shambhu Baba would laugh and say, "One day you will understand why. I cannot tell you now." I was always amazed at the beauty of the man. It was part of his beauty that he could answer by saying, "I cannot answer. One day you will understand." One day he said to my father, "Perhaps I should not be friendly to him, but respectful." It shocked me too. When we were alone, I said to him, "Shambhu Babu, what nonsense were you telling to my father? What do you mean by saying that you should respect me?" He said, "I do respect you because I can see, but not very clearly, as if hidden behind a smoke screen, what you are going to be one day." Even I had to shrug my shoulders. "You are just talking rubbish. What can I be? I am already it." He said, "There, that's what amazes me in you. You are a child." The whole village laughs at our friendship, and they wonder what we talk about together. But they don't know what they are missing. I know. I know what I'm missing. I can feel it a little, but I can't see it clearly. Perhaps one day when you are really grown up, I may be able to see you. And I have to confess, after Maga Baba, he was the second man who recognized that something immeasurable had happened to me. Of course, he was not a mystic, but a poet has a capacity, once in a while, to be a mystic. He was also great because he never bothered to publish his book. He never bothered to read at any gathering of poets. It looked strange that he would read his poetry to a 9-year-old child. And he would ask me, is it of any worth or just worthless? Now his poetry is published, but he is no more. It was published in his memory. It does not contain his best work because the people who choose it, none of them were even poets, and it needs a mystic to choose from Shambhu Babu's poetry. The theme is life, not as a philosophical concept, but as it is lived moment to moment. I asked him, what is wrong with capital letters? Why are you so against them, Shambhu Babu? He said, I am not against them, but I am in love with the immediate, not the far away. I am in love with the small things, a cup of tea, a swim in the river, a sunbath. I am in love with little things, and they cannot be written with capital letters. I understand him, so when I say that although he was not an enlightened master, I still count him as number 2 after Maga Baba, because he recognizes me when it was impossible to do so. Absolutely impossible. I may not even have recognized myself, but he recognized me. When I entered his vice president's office for the first time, and we looked at each other, eye to eye, for a moment there was just silence. Then he stood up and said to me, please sit down. I said, there is no need for you to stand up. He said, it is not a question of need, and it makes me so happy to stand up for you. I have never felt that before, and I have stood because the governor and all the so-called powerful people. I have seen the victory in New Delhi, but I was not mystified as I am by you. I confess. Please don't tell anybody. And this is for the first time that I have ever told it. I have kept it a secret all these years, 40 years. Shambhu Babu was a man who could have become a realized one, but missed it. He missed because of too much intellectuality. He was an intellectual giant. He could not sit silently even for a single moment. When he died, I held his hands. I told him, please close your eyes. Don't strain. He said, no, the eyes are going to close very soon of their own accord. And then I won't be able to open them, so please don't ask me to close my eyes. I want to see you. I may not be able to see you again. One thing is certain, that you are not coming back to life. Alas, had I listened to you, you always insist of being silent, but I continued to postpone. Now there is no time even to postpone. Tears came to his eyes. I remained without saying anything. He closed his eyes and died. He had such beautiful eyes and such an intelligent face. I know many beautiful people, but it is very rare to have the beauty of that man. It is not man-made. He was and still is one of my most loved men. When I met Sambu Babu, he stood up and said, "Please be seated." I said, "First, you be seated. I feel embarrassed to sit before you do." "You are old, perhaps even older than my father," he said. "Don't worry, I'm a friend of your father, but relax and tell me what you have come for." I said, "I will tell you later on why I have come here first." He looked at me, I looked at him, and what transpired in that small fragment of a moment became my first question. I asked him, "First, tell me what happened just now between your eyes and mine." He closed his eyes. I think perhaps 10 minutes must have passed before he opened them again. He said, "Forgive me, I cannot figure it out." We became friends. That was sometime in 1940. Only later on, years afterwards, just 1 year before he died, only then was I able to tell him that the world he had been searching for had been invented by Carl Gustav Jung. Synchronicity can mean many things altogether. It is multi-dimensional. It can mean a certain rhythmic feeling. When I told my grandmother I had become friends with the vice president of this town, she said, "You mean Pandit Shambhu Latan Dubey?" I said, "You look a little shocked by it. What's the matter with you, Nani?" Tears rolled down from her eyes. She said, "Then you will not find many friends in the world. That's why I am worried. If Shambhu Babu has become your friend, then you will not find many friends in the world. Not only that, perhaps you may find friends because you are young. But Shambhu Babu will certainly not find another friend in the world because he is too old." Again and again, my grandmother will come into my story with her tremendous insight. Yes, I can see it now. Recapitulating, I can see what she had seen and wept over. I used to visit my village once in a while, perhaps once a year. Not more than that. And as I become more and more involved in my own activity, as I became more and more involved with the sannyasins and the movement of meditation, my visit to the village became even rarer. Shambhu Baba once asked me, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Shambhu Babu, I never plan. If I drop out of this work, I hope some other work will be there waiting for me. If God can find work for all kinds of people, animals, trees, I think He will be able to find some kind of work for me too. And if He cannot find any, it is His problem, not mine." He said, "Yes, that is perfectly right. Yes, it is His problem if He is there. But the point is, if He is not there, then what?" I said, "I don't see any problem for me then either. If there is no work, I can take a deep breath and say goodbye to existence. It is enough proof that I am not needed. And if I am not needed, then I am not going to impose myself on this existence." Our talks, could they all be recapitulated? our arguments. Could they or be again reproduced would make even better dialogues than Plato. Everybody asked, "He is a logician. You are utterly illogical. What is the bridge between you both?" I said, "It will be difficult for you to understand because you are neither. His very logic brings him to its very brink. I am illogical, not because I was born illogical. Nobody is born illogical. I am illogical because I have seen the futility of logic. So I can go with him according to his logic, and yet, at a certain point, go ahead of him, and then he becomes afraid and stops. And that is keeping our friendship, because he knows he has to go beyond that point, and he knows nobody else who can be of any help to him. The quality is very rare. My grandmother was right when she said, "I'm afraid that Shambhu Babu is going to be without a friend." Her insight was very clear. You will be surprised to know that in my whole life, I have not had any friend except for Shambhu Babu. To be acquainted is very easy. Acquaintance is ordinary, but friendship is not part of the ordinary world. When he died, I asked, "Anything you want to say to me, you can say." He said, "I have nothing to say to you. Just hold my hands. Let me feel you. Fill me with your presence." He went on, "I cannot go on my knees and touch your feet. It is not that I would not like to do it, just that my body is not in a position to get out of bed. I have just a few minutes longer." I could see that death was almost on his doorstep. In my childhood, I have known only two people who really made me aware what real attention is. The first was my nanny. I am even feeling a little sad to put her alongside Shambhu Babu, because her attention possessed many more dimensions. In fact, I should not have said two people, but I have already said it. With my nanny, every night it was almost a ritual. My nanny was a lover of stories. Not that she used to tell me stories, just the contrary. She used to provoke me to tell her stories. All kinds of stories and gossips. I started winning in competition when I was just a child in primary school, and that continued to the very end. When I left the university, I collected so many prizes, medals, and cups and shields and what not. Then my grandmother became just a young girl again. Whenever she would bring someone to show them my prizes and awards, she was no longer an old woman. She became almost young again. I can see myself by the side of her bed with her listening so attentively to what I was saying. Each word utterly by me was observed by her as if it were of immense value. Many times I said to her, "You will spoil me, both you and Shambhu Babu are spoiling me forever." And they really did their job well. I collected hundreds of awards. There was not a single high school in the whole state where I had not spoken and won, except once. Only once had I not been the winner, and the reason was simple. Everybody was amazed, even the girl who had won, because she said to me, "It is impossible to think I could win against you." The whole hall became full of great hummings, and everybody was saying that it was unfair, even the principal who was presiding over the contest. Losing that cup became very significant to me. If I had not lost the cup, I would have been in great trouble, or that I will tell you when the time comes. The principal called me and said, "I am sorry, you are certainly the winner." And he gave his own watch to me, saying, "This is far more costly than the cup which was given to that girl." And it was a gold watch. I've received thousands of watches, but I have never again received such a beautiful one. I have received so many watches, but I have forgotten them. One of those watches is behaving strangely. When I need it, it stops. Today it stopped exactly at 4. I looked at it and went back to sleep. The principal gave me his watch and said, "Forgive me." I said, "Love is blind, but why had you chosen a blind person to be the judge, particularly when his girl was a competitor? I am going to expose the whole thing." And I exposed it to the newspaper, telling them the whole story. It was troublesome for the poor professor, so much so that his love affair finished. He lost everything, his service, reputation, and the girl for whose love he had staked everything, all was lost. He is still alive. Once, as an old man, he came to see me and confessed, "I'm sorry, I certainly did something wrong. But I never thought that it was going to take such a shape." I said, "Nobody knows what an ordinary action is going to bring to the world. And don't be sorry you lost your service and your beloved. What did I lose? Nothing at all. Just one more shield. And I have so many that I don't care." In fact, my grandmother's house had become just a museum for my shields, cups, and medals. I tell you one thing, both she and Shambhu Babu spoiled me by their being so attentive. They taught me without teaching the art of speaking. When somebody listens attentively, you immediately start saying something you had not planned or even imagined. My own experience is that this world will not become a beautiful place to live in unless everybody learns how to be attentive. Right now, nobody is attentive. Even when people are showing that they are listening, they are not listening. They are doing 1,000 other things. My nanny would wait the whole day for the time when I would come back home to tell her stories. The other person, Shambhu Babu, was totally different from my nanny. My nanny was very intuitive but not intellectual. Shambhu Babu was also intuitive but intellectual too. The moment I was released from the prison, my school, I would first to go to Shambhu Babu. He would be ready with tea and a few sweets. He was a man of law. So naturally he found a way. From school I would rush to his house, take my tea and sweets that he had bought. Then he was ready. Even before I had finished, he was ready to listen to what I had to tell him. He would say, "Just tell me anything you like. It's not a question of what you say, but that you say it." His empathy was very clear. I was left absolutely free, with not even a subject to talk about, free to say anything I wanted. He always added, "If you want to remain silent, you can. I will listen to your silence." And when I closed my eyes, he too would close his eyes. And we would sit like the Quakers, just in silence. There were so many times day after day when I either spoke or else we stayed in silence. I once said to him, "Shambhu Babu, it looks a little strange for you to listen to a child. It would be more appropriate if you spoke and I listened." He said, "That is impossible. I cannot say anything to you, and will not say anything ever, for the simple reason that I don't know. And I am grateful to you for making me aware of my ignorance." Those two people gave me so much attention that in my early childhood I became aware of the fact, which only now psychologists are talking about, that attention is a kind of food, a nourishment. I've been fortunate in that way. My Nani and Shambhu Babu started the ball rolling, and it gathered more and more moss. Without ever learning how to speak, I became a speaker. I still don't know how to speak, and I have reached thousands of people without even knowing how to begin. Can you see the amusing part of it? I must have spoken more than any man in the whole of history, although I am still only 51. I started speaking so early, yet I was not in any way what you call a speaker in the Western world. Not a speaker who says, "Ladies and gentlemen," and all that nonsense, all borrowed and nothing experienced. The principal who gave me his watch and brought this whole trouble about for you, his name was B.S. Audolia. I hope he is still alive. As far as I know he is, and I know far enough. I don't hope against hope. When I hope, that means that it is so. That night he said, "I am sorry," and he really was sorry. He threw the professor out of service. B.S. Audolia also told me that whenever I needed anything, I had only to inform him, and if it was within his capacity at all, he would do it. Later, whenever I required anything, I just sent a note to him, and it was fulfilled. Once I asked him myself, "Why don't you ever ask me why I need this?" He said, "I know you. If you have asked for it, my asking why would be foolish." I looked at the man. I did not expect that the principal of a very famous college could be so understanding. 6 months later, when he met me again, he said, "Why have you started growing a beard?" I said, "You are the cause. You said you had read my face. Now my face will not be so easy to read." He said, "You cannot hide it. It is in your eyes. Why don't you start wearing sunglasses?" I said, I can't wear sunglasses for the simple reason that I cannot create any barrier between my eyes and existence. The Babu cannot have the same eyes as Adolf Hitler. Forget the birth. They are not contemporaries. Jesus and Judas were contemporaries. And not only contemporaries, but master and disciple. Still I say they cannot have the same eyes. Judas would have had very cunning eyes. Jesus would have had the eyes of a child. Even on the cross, he died as if he were in the womb, still in the womb. If Judas had even once gathered courage enough to look into the eyes of Jesus, there would have been no crucifixion. Jesus was so simple that you could almost call him the fool. That's what Dostoevsky said in one of his most creative novels, The Idiot. Although it was not written about Jesus, Dostoevsky was so filled with the spirit of Jesus that somehow Jesus comes in. Session 26. I will have to go in circles, circles within circles within circles, for that's how life is. And more so in my case. In 50 years, I must have lived at least 50 lives. In fact, I have not done anything else other than living. Other people have many occupations, but from my very childhood I have remained a vagabond, not doing anything, just living. When you don't do anything except live, then of course life takes on a totally different dimension. I have not done anything in the sense of earning, of having a great bank balance, of becoming a powerful person politically. I have lived in my own way, and in that living, teaching has been an essential part. I did not cope with my father, my mother, my uncles, who were all loving and helpful to me. Not my teachers, who were not my enemies. Nor my professors, who always wanted, in spite of me, to help. But I could not cope with anybody. They all had to cope with me. Now it is too late. Things cannot be changed now. It was a one-way affair. You can cope with me. I am available, but I cannot cope with you. Even if it were possible, just for argument's sake, I cannot do it. I have never done it. I don't know its mechanism. I was the misfit everywhere. At the university where I was teaching, I never joined in the annual staff photograph. The vice chancellor once asked me, I have noticed that you are the only staff member who never comes for our annual photograph. Everybody else comes because the photo is published. Who doesn't want his photo to be published? I said, I certainly don't want to have my photograph published. Not along with so many donkeys. He was shocked. You call all those people donkeys? Including me? I said, of course, including you. That's what I think. And if you want to hear something nice, you have called the wrong man. Call one of the donkeys. Not a single photograph exists in which I even participated while I was in service. I was such a misfit. I thought it was better not to be associated with those people with whom I had nothing in common. I don't know whether this kind of tree exists in the West or not, but it is one of the most beautiful trees in the East. Its name is Kalmohar tree. Its shade is really cool. I used to park my car beneath it for so many years that slowly everybody became aware not to park there. I did not have to tell them, but by and by slowly it became accepted. The vice chancellor looked at me as if I was mad, but anybody would have looked just the same. That's the way to look at a misfit. But he still could not believe that I would do it. So he watched from his window while I said goodbye to the Kalmohar. Because I said to him that I have to say goodbye to Kalmohar. I hugged the tree and we remained together for a moment. The vice chancellor rushed out and came running to me saying, "Forgive me. I have never seen anybody hugging a tree, but now I know how much everybody is missing. I have never seen anybody say goodbye or good morning to a tree, but you have not only taught me a lesson, it has really sunk in." After 2 months, he phoned me just to inform me, saying, "It is sad and very strange, but the day you left, something happened to your tree. It had now become my tree." I said, "What has happened?" "It started dying. If you come now, you will just see a dead tree with no flowers." "What has happened? That's why I phoned you." "You should have phoned the tree. How can I answer for the tree?" For a moment there was a silence. He said, "It is as I always thought. You are mad." I said, "You are still not convinced. Otherwise, who phones a madman? You should have called a tree. And the tree is just outside your window. No phone is needed." He simply hung up. I left, but the next day in the early morning, before any of the idiots at the university were there, I went to see the tree. Yes, all its flowers were gone, and yet it was in season. All had gone, not only the flowers but the leaves too. There were just the naked branches standing against the sky. I again hugged the tree and knew it was dead. At the first hug there was a response. At the second hug there was nobody to respond. The tree had left. Only its body was standing there, and may stand for years. Perhaps it is still standing, but it is just a dead wood. I could never manage to fit anywhere. As a student, I was a nuisance. Every professor who taught me looked on me as a punishment that God had sent for him. I enjoyed being a messenger of God. I enjoyed it to the fullest. Who would not have enjoyed it? Only a few have met me lately. Their first question was, "We cannot yet believe that you could have become enlightened. You were such a troublemaker. We have forgotten all the students that studied with you. But even now we see you once in a while in our nightmares. I can understand it. I could not fit in with anything. Whatsoever they taught me was so mediocre. Today I want to say that attention is double-edged sword. Double-edged because it cuts both the listener and the speaker. It also joins them together. It is a very significant process. Gujev had the right word for it, crystallization. If a man is really attentive, it does not matter what to X, Y, Z to anything. In that very process of being attentive, he will become integrated, crystallized. By focusing himself on one thing, he will become focused within his being. But that is only half the story. The person who is listening attentively attains crystallization. It is a well-known fact in all the Eastern school of meditation. Just being attentive to anything will do. Just looking at the bottle attentively, and you have the secret of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's transcendental meditation. But it is only half the truth, and a half-truth can be more dangerous than a complete lie. The other half is possible only if you are not just reading a book or chanting a mantra or looking at the statue. The other half is possible only if you are in deep synchronicity with a living person. I'm not calling it love because that can misguide you, not even friendship, because you will think you know it already. I will call it synchronicity just so you have to think about it and give it a little of your being. When you feel really attentive, synchronicity happens. It may be just a sunset you are watching, or children playing on the lawn and you are enjoying their joyfulness. But a certain harmony is needed. If it happens, there is attention. If it happens between a master and a disciple, then certainly you have the most precious diamond.